Welcome to 14 Days of Yoga Love. The next 14 videos that you will see in this series will walk you through a variety of classes we offer at SIFT. We hope you will use this content library as a way to continue your yoga practice for the next 14 days. Feel the self-love with 14 Days of Yoga Love.
Might be helpful. You don't have to have them, but if they're handy, get them out. We're also going to do a spinal twist at the end of today's practice that you don't have to have a blanket for, but I'm going to put it like long, skinny ways. I'm actually probably going to even fold it even longer skinny. So I'm going to roll it so I can make it really long. And then this is going to go between my ankles and between my knees. As I do a spinal twist today, it's a really luscious, enjoyable twist when you don't have your ankle bones and your knee bones kind of banging into each other when you're trying to do a restorative twist. So that will be at the end of today's practice. So if you don't have a beach towel or a blanket or something handy, you might go grab that real quick. You, of course, can always use that blanket for other things throughout our practice. Maybe you want it as a knee pad under your knees. Maybe you want it beneath your head. Whenever you want to use that blanket or towel, feel free to grab it, as well as the blocks. Yay. So let's get started. All right, today's practice is Hatha. So we're going to start back on our backs for just a few moments. So just take your time, join me on your mat. Start to move back with your spine on the earth, your head relaxed into the floor, maybe even closing your eyes. And just breathe, my friends. Oh, just breathe. Today was a day where I got to change the sign, our marquee sign out by the street. And I always try to come up with clever little things to put on the sign. And one of the sides of the sign says, balance is not something found, it's created. So that's kind of our theme today, is the finding of balance. We often think, I can't find my balance, or I don't know where to find the balance. You hear that phrase all the time. Today, you're going to be in charge of creating your balance. So you're going to create the physical spaces in your body to help you balance physically on your feet, on your knees, on your hands. But you're also going to create that mental space that allows you to kind of just balance out the yin and the yang, the go and the stop, the strength and the ease. All right. So as you rest here on your back, think through those words. Balance is not something found, it's created. So let's start to create that balance by deepening your inhales and deepening your exhales. Maybe your hands are rested on the belly and they go maybe for a little ride. Inhaling, you'll feel your hands start to rise up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, you might feel those hands falling down a little deeper towards the spine. Let this breath be slow and easy. If your knees have been bent, great. Go ahead and stretch the arms out to a T. Let your knees start to windshield wiper a little bit right and left. If your legs have been long, you can bring them in to join me. Let those knees pause at center. Hug them in towards the chest. Bring the hands to the tops of the kneecaps. Take this just for a little gentle stir, a little easy rocking back and forth. Maybe you switch your grip to the backs of the thighs and you elevate your feet towards the ceiling again, giving a little point and flex. And we'll bring those knees back down towards the belly. And let your legs begin to go long, one at a time, all the way down your mat. Once your heels have touched the earth, bring your hands to touch right along the pelvic bone or right around the hips. And let your feet sweep right and left. So I don't know if you can really see it on the screen, but this is a very subtle hip flexor opener. Just to easy sweep those toes right and left. Now it might feel nice to let them go both wide and then turn them both in, turn them wide, and then turn them in. Hands reach up overhead, walk the heels to the left edge of the mat. Head, neck, and shoulders lift up. As you begin to reach over here to the left, you're taking a nice banana shape with your spine. And then heels begin to walk back to center. Head, neck, and shoulders lift up. Maybe walk those feet to the right edge of your mat. Big banana stretch again on this side. Hopefully that feels lovely as you gave those hip flexors a little attention already. Beautiful. Start to bring this back towards center. Head, neck, and shoulders just begin to relax. Bring those hands down on either sides of the hips. Set yourself for your first bridge pose. Heels placing themselves right down behind the glutes. Hips lift high. Gaze is up towards the ceiling. Breathing in and out. Maybe you even lift the right foot up off the earth. Place it back down, engagement. Yeah, the quads are on. The heat is elevating. Foot comes back to earth, lower back down, one vertebra at a time. Good work, my friends. Knees come into chest, rock around on your spine. And then we're ready. Let's come on up to a seat. You can rock and roll or push into the earth. Tall spine. I'm gonna turn just so I can see you. You're welcome to reach for that blanket. Maybe you tuck it under just the back tip of your tail just to give you a little bit of lift and a little more ease with the knees. And we're gonna take our hands and they're just gonna kind of slide back and forth across our legs. So when the hands come in towards your hip creases, go ahead and make a nice proud open chest. When your hands slide forward, go ahead and round the spine. So just kind of playing with a little flexion breath here. Keeping it easy and slow. One more time. Last one. Hands reach out to the edges or the sides of the mat. Head and neck gets a little bit of time to talk. And then when you're ready, a big inhale breath brings hands overhead. Right hand falls down to earth. Reach. Inhale, bring it back up. Let's go the other way. Left hand falls down. Reach, keeping the chest square. Beautiful. Back to center. Right hand falls down. This time, let your left hand come and tap just outside that left knee. Inhale it up. Other way. Back up nice and tall. This time as you exhale, hands move towards the heart. Prayer hands, lacing, pressing, and then tilting. Start to feel the opening of the spine, the side wall, creating that space we're going to need for balance to move in. Lift those fingers up high overhead, soften at the elbows, and tip. core strength, pull the belly button into spine. Let those obliques control this movement. Or keep it soft and easy, and you don't have to use any of those oblique muscles. Hands come down and ease towards the ground. Beautiful. Go ahead and just roll those shoulders a little bit here, and let's find tabletop. Now, if you know you got a little knee sensitivity, or maybe you're practicing on kind of a hard ground like what's here in the studio, feel free to place a blanket underneath your kneecaps. And we're going to move into tabletop position. Rocking those hips easy side to side. Belly drops down, inhale breath. Exhale breath, round the back, round the spine. 2 more. Last one. Back to your table. I want you to take your hands and walk them towards the left edge of your mat, maybe even off onto the floor on this left side, and then just gently start to sit back onto your heels. Let that side wall absorb a little opening, good stretch through the shoulder joint as well. Inhale, breath, come back up here to this side, and then just give me a little bit of tricep lower. So it's not a true tricep push-up, just kind of seeing how your arms feel. A little strength there, beautiful. Walk those back towards the middle of the mat, and then we'll walk all the way over here to this right-hand side. Placing them on the earth, sit down into that opposite hip. Now, just as before, all down this side body. That's what we're giving attention to. Shoulder joints getting a little good stretch too. Of course, if anything ever feels too big, don't sit so deep. Bend your elbows, walk the hands closer. All different ways to modify, coming back up to that table off to the side, and just give yourself a little bit of tricep work. Now, this might feel like a lot, or you might feel like you're not doing much of anything. It's depending on what's going on, but you probably feel it in one hand or one arm more than the other. Beautiful. Start to walk that back to center. Regular triceps now. So your hands are going to walk one good step out in front, and then give yourself a slight shift of hips, lower down. Now, obviously, the triceps are what float up the back sides of our arms. We're going to hug them towards the rib cage, but release them down the back. One more time. Back up strong. Now you're just in traditional child's pose. Sit back and relax. Maybe the elbows even drop into earth. Hands might hit prayer. And tuck behind the head. Breathe. Beautiful. Taking your time, hands return back to earth, up towards table, right foot steps all the way through to look for your blocks or your hands, and we enjoy a nice low lunge here. So set yourself in that shape for one more breath. Then begin to walk up this front knee. Now, whatever foot you have forward, that arm is going to reach straight up next to your ear, bicep by ear. Hold. Then maybe even take slightly over the top. Maybe your left hand drops to the ground. Perfect. Bring that hand back down. Ease both arms up. This time the opposite hand, so we've got that right knee forward. The left arm is what's going to reach over. Right hand drops down. Beautiful, back to center. Hands move their way down towards earth or a set of blocks. Toes curl under, knee lifts up. Feel strong here. Long hold, 3 breaths. Last breath. Knee drops down to ground, shift the weight, heel hits toe elbows flex. One more breath. Now we're just gonna switch this out. So bring your right knee back, put it on the earth. Switch this left foot forward and through your hands. Low lunge, take your time. If you notice my back foot, toenails are down on the ground. If that shape feels good in your body, feel free to stay there. If you want to curl those toes under, they certainly can be. Gradually start to walk up this front knee, keeping opposite hand on the knee. So whatever knee you've got forward, you've got left knee forward. Now the left hand's going to reach up, bicep by ear, and hold. Now take it slightly over. It's a big stretch. Feels awkward. Feels like we got the wrong arm lifted. Beautiful. Start to let that arm drop down. And you're going to switch. Opposite arm. Now this one should feel more like hip flexor, side body, side wall. All of it really connects in. Knowing you can come off of that shape if it's too big, or you can sink in a little more if it's not big enough. Or if you want some in between, that is available too. Hands go up, cartwheel forward, or bring the hands down. Take your time to create space here, lifting this knee up off the earth. Knowing that I'm using blocks is all about just giving my chest more space. You can make this really short. If your flexibility isn't there, that's okay. If you need to make this wider so that you feel more comfortable with the belly and the chest, that's okay too. There's always ways to adjust. These aren't one size fits all. Knee drops down if it hasn't already. Switch it up. A little half split. Give yourself a nice stretch up the back side of the leg. Perfect. From here, you're going to bring this leg that's out long back in towards the center of your mat. Inhale, breath, hands lift. Exhale, breath, hinge and fold. Put those hands down on the ground, walk them forward. Let's go back to that same tricep push-up. Bend the elbows, lift back up. I'm really trying to stay relaxed in my neck. My chin is staying away from my chest. My core is engaged. Of course, your knees can always come up off the earth if you want full version. Last breath. Lift those hips first time here in the shape of downward dog. Walk the dog. So that just means bend the right knee and then bend the left. All right, friends, slow steps with the feet, walking forward. You know you have a set of blocks, so feel free to use those if you want them. Inhale to bring a long spine into the practice. Exhale, fold. Plant the feet big, beautiful. Inhale, lifts us up tall, hands above head. Exhale out, look for cactus shape. One more breath, inhale it up. We're gonna take this half sun salutation to exhale down. We'll inhale and lift up halfway. Exhale, take it down. Inhale, lift it all the way up. Exhale it out. Hands come into heart. Stay strong and steady right here. Right foot becomes your balancing leg. Left toes plant. And then this foot just comes up to a flamingo shape today. So knee is bent. Toes are pointed down towards earth. Hands at heart. 1, 2, and 3. Kick this foot out in front. And then lower it down to earth. Let's switch sides. Left foot becomes your stationary standing leg. Right toes point, then lift, tucking it right inside that knee or thigh. Keeping those hips nice and square. Hands at the heart, shoulders relaxed from your ears. Gaze out and front, spine is tall. For 3, Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. So a little flowing breath there. Let's step the left foot back this time. Spin the left heel all the way to touch the floor. So your left toes are kind of angled out. And come up, let's just find warrior one. So ideally with warrior one, you've got a nice bend in this front knee. Your hips are square up your mat. You're able to release those shoulders down, and we're just gonna let them maybe even reach behind us today. We've already lifted our hands up several times, so maybe it feels nice to let them go the other way. I believe it was Saturday's class. Had several heart openers in it. It might be a nice one for you to revisit in the content library. It would have been a flow class. All right, release those hands down. You're gonna take your right hand and let it stretch over and look for your left shoulder. Take your left hand and just reach across for your right shoulder. From here, go ahead and begin to spin on this back foot slowly so that you can open yourself into a warrior two. So if you notice, I'm gonna move this block so you can see my front foot. You notice my arms have stayed in that little hug. And I'm trying to reset myself. Make sure my hips are square the other way. Arms reach wide now, gaze over front hand. Drop these hands down behind the back. Maybe we try to reach like wrist to wrist behind your back, or maybe elbow to elbow. Shoulders again are dropped down from ears. Maybe your gaze is to the side, but for some of us that kind of kinks up the neck. So feel free to keep the gaze in the same direction as your hips. One more breath. All right, release from that by sending those arms to T, flip, and reverse. Side angle, elbow drops to knee, just that classic warrior dance, one breath. And then back to your warrior two. Beautiful, drop these hands down. Start to turn the base of your stance so that both feet are now to the side. Reach the arms out wide. Hands drop down behind back just as before, wrist to wrist, elbow to elbow, or hands are clasped. Gentle bend in the knees. Begin to fold through. Now if you chose a clasp, maybe your arms are up overhead. If you're holding wrist to wrist or elbow to elbow, might be a little more relaxed. Of course, if you're feeling any dizziness in the body, you don't have to go so far. Bring your head up, hold on to that breath, continue to breathe. Beautiful. Next natural inhale brings you the rest of the way up. So use the inhale breath to come on up. Let go of those hands. Any natural movements of the shoulders that make sense. Take your time. And then heels are going to turn in and lift and lower. So when my knees are straight, my arms are up. When my knees are bent, my hands kind of sweep down through the middle. I sometimes call these sunflower squats. They're really good for hip flexors, really good for outer hips, really good for knees, posture, so many wonderful things. Something that I found in my prenatal training that I actually loved in my non-pregnant body. So hopefully this feels okay in your body too. One more time, bend those knees, and then stand up strong and tall, reach the hands up, and then let them come back to T as you start to look forward where we started. So start to go back to that same warrior two. Remember what you were in, so that foot turns again to that same warrior two. So not a different leg, same leg. Flip, reverse, side angle. So this should all feel familiar because you're on the exact same leg you were on before. Back to your warrior two. All right, option to cartwheel all the way down to the floor, or you can just step up here to the front of the mat. So you can take the cartwheel down, maybe step back to a down dog. For those of you who have been practicing for a little while, that might feel nice to you. If you're a beginner, just go ahead and step up there to the front of the mat and wait for me. Once you hit that down dog, take small steps or maybe a giant leap, whatever feels good in your body. Half lifting, floating back down, and then standing up tall. Hands coming, resting at the heart. And breathe. All right, you stay right where you are, but I'm going to switch so I can still look at you. This time, right foot steps back. Right heel hits the ground. We're in warrior one. So I just switch so that when I turn sideways again, I can find you. But your right foot is back. If you remember when we did warrior one last time, we found our first heart opener. So see if you can find that again. Middle of the chest is lifted, creating space right here in the middle. We want to balance some emotional stress. We got to be able to go at it with an open heart. So take your time here. Breathe into that space. Create room. Hands come away. Now, if you can remember which arm you did on top when you gave yourself a hug, do the opposite. If you can't remember, go with what doesn't feel natural. That's probably the way you need to be. As you feel ready, we'll start to spin. Openness, maybe you can take the arms out of the equation, wiggle around with your feet till you're in warrior two facing the other direction. Now we're not doing a ton of things by giving ourselves a big hug here, but anytime we take our arms out while we're trying to transition, we're almost like in a straitjacket here, it makes us have to work a little differently because we got to use different muscles. We got to balance in a different way when we don't have two of our appendages or extremities, whatever the word is, to help us. Open it up, sink in, you guys got it. Flip, reverse, back through your middle point. There's your side angle again. Remember, this is about keeping the chest wide and open. Back to your warrior two. Beginning to turn your toes to face the side again, so check them. All right, this time, instead of taking arms behind the back, we're going to lift them up overhead. And then I want you to reach out. Yes, like you're trying to touch the screen or touch the space or touch a piece of furniture, the carpet, something way out in front of you. Now, if you feel comfortable doing so, you might even put a block out there. Put your hands on it. Sink a little bit more to your heels, almost as if somebody's behind you, kind of pulling your hips backwards as you're extending those arms out long in front. Hold that shape. Don't hold your breath, but hold that shape. For 3, 2, and 1, my friend. Start to slide that block or your hands back a little closer to you. If you feel comfortable keeping one hand on the earth, great. If not, reach for a block or a pillow or something to just put underneath that hand. Left hand stays in position. Open that right hand high to the sky. Give yourself a nice twist here. We haven't done a lot of twisting today, so see how that feels. My twist is huge. You don't need to twist that big. If you just want to reach your hand out here to the side, that's fine. If it feels good to take that full twist, go for it. If you want to have your hand on your hip, or you need to kind of come up, give yourself something modified. Guys, it is okay. It is yoga. It is not that serious. Unwind from that twist. Put your hand on the block in front and start to open. often say some of the best things and some of the worst things about yoga have come from these new images we see in social media. Some of them are poses that just, these people are gymnasts or they're contortionists. But other things on those social media platforms are lovely, and we can learn a lot from these very wise individuals out there spreading yoga. So you just got to know what you're looking at. The poses that you see are not always one size fits all, and it's not a comparison game. It's just about being where you are. Start to close out of that shape, hands returning to the block, or maybe they just kind of hang out here. I'm going to put mine about thigh high. I'm going to lift my chest up a little bit, get my blood pressure a little bit more regular, and just breathe. When your next natural inhale comes around, start to lift that chest back up as you did before. Let your heels turn in and then sink. You can do arms opposite of what you did last time. Maybe when your legs are straight, your hands are like this. And when your knees are bent, maybe your arms are up high. Or you can go with the same groove that we did last time. But goodness. Good strength happening for those quads, the adductors, your inner thighs, your knees. You've got muscle strength happening in the muscles of the feet to help stabilize you here. Your ankles, your core. If you're keeping a nice tall spine, you're pulling that belly button in. Last one at your own pace. Yes. And then return back to that same warrior shape. So check yourself, heel, big toe or instep, arms start to reach, relax those shoulders down. One thing I've learned from teaching on screen like this is that I naturally float my arms up. You probably do too. So try to just relax those shoulders a little bit. Flip that front hand, reverse it. Remember, this should feel very familiar because we've just did it on this leg. All the way through to that side angle. Take your time. Back to warrior two when you feel ready. Yes, beautiful work. Now you can cartwheel this just as you did before. Hands can move forward towards the earth. You can step to a big down dog, or you can just kind of start to walk that back foot up to meet your hands. If you are in down dog like me, pedal it out, walk it out, and then step the feet forward towards your hands. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach. Cactus. Hands come in and grace one another, resting at the heart, close the eyes. Right foot becomes your balancing foot. Left toes come forward just as before. We're going back to same flamingo shape. See what it feels like now that we've worked our quads a little more leg movement. Hold. 3, 2, 1. If space allows, kick it out. And then swing it down. Roll the ankles if they need it. Move the hips around. Do a little shimmy. All right, and then find stability. Toe in the earth. Knee lifts up. Shoulders are square. Hips are square. Gaze is straight forward on something not moving. Maybe a picture on the wall. Maybe a piece of furniture. Not focusing on clutter or something that needs to be maintained or cleaned. I'm sure that's something that some of you miss about being in the studio. If you find something that needs to be cleaned here, it's not your problem. It's mine. Kick that foot out and front, and then send it back down to the side. Wiggle around, give yourself a little smile. All right, if you've got a little bit of energy left in the tank, I've got one more fun thing for us to try today. And then we'll start changing the pace of class and something more restful. So walk yourself to the back of the mat. Now, the first time I show this to you, I'm going to show it to you a little more full out. The second time, or after I get into it, I can talk you through something that is a little bit more modified. Those of you following along live, I know you can handle the first version. So you're going to inhale, you'll reach your hands up nice and tall. You'll exhale, hinge and fold. If you want to watch, you certainly can. Walk these hands forward until you find a down dog. As you do that, your right foot's going to step forward on the outside of that right hand. Now it might stay right here, or you might end up having to drop that back knee. If you haven't already walked your way into a full lizard, feel free. I forgot which hand I want to bring up off the earth. I was gonna have you twist. So we're gonna take our left hand down. Yes, we lift our right hand. Weird how just being in my body helped me remember that. Okay, if you need to drop that back knee, of course, feel free. This is a big stretch. Hand comes down to earth. Big step, right foot. Yes, all the way back. And then the hands start to follow. Now, if that was too much, you'll just do everything. Inhale, lift to standing, exhale to heart. Now, if that was too much, you'll just go down. When you fold here, you can drop to your knees, walk your hands out, step forward with that foot, be here, lift here, twist here, all of that. Use your knees. Okay, you don't have to do it so big. So let's try. Inhale up, exhale down. If you want to put the knees on the ground, they go here. Otherwise, start walking forward. Left foot steps outside of that foot. You can see it a little better on this side. And then we hang out. I kind of lifted both arms because I was trying to figure out what in the world I was doing. Good work. Right hand on the ground, left hand lifts. You can tell sometimes when I teach these virtual classes, I miss real people. Ready for you to laugh with me. Hand comes back down towards the ground, and then walk it back. Foot, then hands. Hands lift. Heart. Give you 3 full breaths. Last one. All right, last energy in the tank. Up and at it. Send it down. You can use your knees this time if you need to. Walk it forward. Right foot steps. Left hand's down. Right hand lifts. Hold, 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 hold. Hand comes down. Step foot back. Walk it back. Inhale up. Are you glowing? Exhale, hands to heart. 2 breaths this time. I don't know about you, but I feel strong. Beautiful. Up, down. Remember, you can use your knees. So if I'm pushing you too much today and this is just not your idea of hatha or yoga or what you were looking for, right hand's on the ground, left hand lifts, drop down, chill out. Take it as a stretch. Don't go so big, right? Hand comes back down, step foot back. You can stay on your knees here, remember, you can crawl this slow. You can get into a little squat, maybe just use your breath to stand up. Hands to the heart, close the eyes, 3 breaths. You made it. So what we just did there with the lizard is pretty big. I wouldn't wake up and jump out of bed and do that first thing in the morning. But it's a great thing to add on after you've warmed the body a little bit. All right, my friends, let's start working our way down to the mat. You can take a nice forward fold. You can drop into a squat maybe if that feels good. I'm gonna keep my knees together. Maybe even wrapping my arms around the fronts of those knees. But just take your time to work towards the ground. All right. Now, as promised, we're gonna have a couple stretches on our back. We didn't twist a whole lot today, so I wanted to bring a restorative twist into our practice. So if you haven't yet created yourself a nice long rolled towel or blanket, I'm gonna redo mine. Go ahead and get that done. This blanket might be longer than mine at home. So when I tried this at home, it wasn't quite this big. So if you need to double it over and make it a little skinnier or roll your blanket the other direction, that's okay too. All right, but go ahead and just put it between your knees because you're gonna notice that even just putting something simple, even though this is supposed to be comfortable, if you can see, it's between my knees, and then I've stacked my feet around it, it's between my ankles. So just put it there and just hold it. Maybe rock a little bit side to side. Maybe walk the hands in closer to the body, lift up and maybe hold a little bit of a boat, squeezing that blanket hold. 3, 2, 1. Feet gradually make their way down as well as the back. And then you're gonna reach your arms out wide. Look for T. Now, usually in yoga, when we do this pose, our hands are lifted, palms facing up. If it feels better to you today to do palms down, you can let those rest on the earth downward. Walk the heels in a little closer to your glutes, but then just lift the spine up off the ground for a moment and let it kind of settle down comfortably. Now, if you have a second blanket in the room, maybe rolling to the side here, feels a little sensitive to that hip, you certainly can put another blanket here or a pillow or something. You don't have to, of course. But we're just gonna roll so that our knees come somewhat closer to fetal position, and then they go over to the side. So if you'll notice, this blanket is between my ankles and my knees. My arms begin to reach wide. Yes. And I don't need to talk so loud now, right? I'm gonna try to tone my voice down a little bit so that you can relax. Now you're gonna stay here for a few moments because I really want your spine to have a chance to kind of unravel. So if at any point in time this becomes too much, you can always change your gaze. Looking in the direction of your knees is going to be a lesser version. Looking straight up is about your medium version. Looking completely away from those knees is going to be a little bit more strenuous or a deeper twist. If you need to take your arms out of the T and just kind of bring them more close to the body, that's okay too. But this should feel more like what a restorative practice would feel like. Shoulders relaxed on the earth, eyes are closed, and you just get a chance to unwind. Now your breathing might not be quite as full as it is when we're just flat to our back. A twist does keep us from breathing quite as deep, so it's okay. It's okay to be a little shallow here with your breath. See if you can reposition those shoulders, maybe soften the muscles of your face. Let your breath be slow and steady. Knowing that whatever we do on this side, we're gonna need to do on the other. So enjoy a couple more moments here in this space. All right, friends, since you've had a chance to really rest in this spot, you might need to bring your hands to your knees just to kind of help move you back to center. Keep that blanket hugged in close. If you used another blanket to support the hip, feel free to kind of move it on over to this other side. It might feel nice to lift your hips up off the ground for a moment and let them kind of settle down comfortably. Knees might lift in a little closer to the chest, take more of a fetal position as you roll to the other side. Arms stretching to T just as before, maybe palms facing down or up, however you feel best. But remember, we're trying to keep that blanket comfortable. Let your knees be easy. No pain in the ankles or the bones of the feet. Of course, if you feel you'd be better served removing the blanket and putting it behind your head or somewhere else, you certainly can. Just as always, I'm just kind of your tour guide, taking you through the postures. So if something else seems like it makes more sense, adjust appropriately for you. And breathe. Might feel nice to have your eyes closed. Let that breath continue to move steady through the body, knowing it might not be quite as big. That's okay. Might feel a little restricted. It's okay. Resting here for just a few more moments. And then as you feel ready, we will slowly begin to remove ourselves from this twist, hands coming to the outer edges of the knee, starting to stand those knees back up. And then I'm going to give you two options with this blanket today. You can kind of roll yourself to one side or the other. Press into the ground just enough to come up to a seat. And then I want you to either take the blanket, and actually I got three options for you. First option is to put it right behind the ankles. So for in Savasana, you have just a barely lift, nice support at ankles. Third option is to take it, or second option, hope if I can count, fold it in half or just make it a little bit bigger and put it behind the backs of your knees. Again, another nice variation for Savasana. Third and final option is to take it and use it as a pillow support underneath the back of the head. If you've never tried a little support at your ankles, I might suggest that you try that today. If you have a secondary blanket or even a bolster that you can put underneath your knees, that might feel nice too. But just start to settle back again on your back. I know you just came back up. You can even use blocks under your ankles or under your knees, or even a block underneath the head. Oh, but friends, when we find that spot, we'll let our heels kind of turn slightly inward, our toes turn slightly outward, our back nice and relaxed on the earth. Now let's see what we can do with that breath. So when you were twisted, it probably felt a little tight, a little restricted. Maybe now as you rest on your back, it's easier. That breath is flowing a little more steady. So maybe you visit some of the guided meditation practices or some of those guided breathing exercises that you've done in so many different classes. Maybe that's like square breath or kind of thinking in and out a word, balance, love, peace. Or maybe you just focus on inhale 4, exhale 4 or 5 or 6. Just see what you can find to bring your mind right here, only focusing on one easy task, which is to breathe. And we'll stay in this shape for just a few more moments before closing out our time together. Knowing, of course, if at any point in time you've got any discomfort in the body, feel free to readjust. Find a shape that fits you better today. Allowing the belly to rise on the inhale and fall on your exhale. So as today's class begins to come to a close, allow for easy movements to come back into the body, wiggling fingers or toes, bending knees, rocking side to side, maybe ultimately moving yourself to your right or left side. We'll move ourselves to a seated posture, maybe using the tip of that blanket again right underneath your tail. And we'll sit nice and tall. But of course, one of the luxuries of practicing at home is if you want to stay right where you are, you certainly can. Hands at the heart, palm to palm. Reminding ourselves that balance is not found, it's created. I encourage you to look at the week ahead with that phrase in mind, that you create the balance that you seek. Taking time to rest when you're tired, taking time to move forward when you have the strength. I greatly appreciate you practicing with me today and all of our friends of Sift Yoga. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again. Namaste.